Well, these are astronauts in training, getting ready to depart to the moon. This them in their beautiful spacesuits. At this point, you might want to laugh, but hold on. In the next few seconds, I am going to show you the spacecraft and explain why this wasn't a joke. But to understand that, we need to go back to the beginning. But first, you need to subscribe to the channel and share this video.
Could you tell me where your rocket is?
Yes, this is the rocket launching site, and my rocket is just here.
This is Edward Makuka Nkoloso. He was born in 1919 in what is now Zambia. Back then it was called Northern Rhodesia. He came from a royal Bemba family, known for warriors and leaders. As a child, he even had special scars on his temples to show his bloodline. He was educated by missionaries. He learned theology, Latin and French. At one point, he wanted to become a priest, but life had other plans. One day, Edward takes his first airplane ride. He looks down at the clouds and to him, they look solid. So he tells the pilot, "Stop the plane, I want to walk on them." The pilot looks at him and shakes his head, like this guy is not serious. Now this sounds funny, but that moment stayed with him. That's when Edward started thinking beyond the ground and beyond Earth. Then in 1939, during the World War II, Edward was drafted by the British into the Northern Rhodesia Regiment. He became a sergeant in the Signal Corps, working with radios, communications and technology. And this is where something clicks for him. He realizes technology is power. After the war in 1945, he started teaching science, physics and even opens his own school. But the British shut it down for political reasons. Edward knew what that meant. They didn't want Africans thinking too far ahead. By the 1950s, independence movements were spreading fast across Africa. Many people wanted to end colonial rule after World War II. Edward joins the struggle. He leads protests against unfair pay and unfair education rules. But it gets really bad that he began building homemade bombs to damage things the colonial rulers used, like offices, railways, or power lines, to make their control weaker. He sabotaged, broke or wrecked important colonial systems on purpose. This was to show the rulers they couldn't keep controlling everything safely and to push for freedom faster. To stay safe and keep working secretly, he wore disguises like different clothes, hats, or fake looks, so police or spies wouldn't recognize him. While he moved from place to place, this was a real fighter taking big risks against unfair colonial rule. In 1956 and 1957, he was arrested and sent to prison. And that's where the dream grows even bigger. In 1957, the Soviet Union launches Sputnik, the first satellite in space. Edward hears the news and thinks, if they can do it, why not us? That's when he comes up with the word Afronaut, African astronauts. By 1960, before Zambia is even independent, Edward starts the Zambia National Academy of Science, Space Research and Philosophy. It's based on an old farm near Lusaka, and his goal is simple but wild: send Zambians to the moon and even Mars before America or Russia. Edward recruits 12 Afronauts. Now this is the part people love to laugh at. The training includes rolling down hills inside oil drums to feel weightlessness, spinning on tie swings, then cutting the rope for free fall, walking on hands because Edward believed that's how humans would walk on the moon. I know how this looks, but wait, this is the early 1960s. Even NASA was still testing and guessing. The difference is they had money, Edward didn't. The most important Afronaut was a 17-year-old girl named Martha Nwamba. Edward said she would be the first human to land on the moon. Think about that for a second. At that time, no woman from anywhere in the world had gone to space. And here is Zambia choosing a teenage African girl. That alone was powerful. The spacecraft was called the Kalu-1, named after future President Kenneth Kaunda. It was about 10 feet tall and 2 feet wide, made from aluminium and copper. Basically a giant metal drum. Edward said it was ready for space. The plan was to launch it on Independence Day from a stadium, but the new government said no. They said it wasn't the right time. In 1964, Zambia finally gains independence. Edward sees hope. He writes letters asking for funding from UNESCO, Russia, the US, Israel, asking for millions and later even billions. But no major support came. Some people around the world sent small donations. Edward believes powerful countries are afraid of African intelligence. He even claims spies sabotaged the project. Then the biggest setback happens. Martha Nwamba became pregnant. Edward was angry. He says there was too much romance and not enough focus on the moon. Martha leaves and returns to her family. Without her, the project slowly dies. By 1969, the Afronaut program collapsed. No launch, no moon. In the same year, American astronauts landed on the moon with Apollo 11. Edward watches the big moment on television. He sees Neil Armstrong step onto the moon. This was a sad moment for Edward. He couldn't make it because of lack of funds. Now let's be honest. Some parts of this story sound unbelievable. But think about who Edward really was. A soldier, a physics teacher, a freedom fighter, a man who believed Africa deserved to dream big. This wasn't madness. This was belief without resources. Edward once said he wanted to send a girl, 2 cats, and a missionary to Mars to gently teach Christianity to the Martians. No force, just love. Zambia never reached the moon, but Edward proved something big and true. Dreaming huge doesn't belong only to rich countries or superpowers. So here's the real question. Was Edward Makuka Nkoloso crazy, or was he just born too early? If you like this story, like, share and subscribe. And never stop dreaming, no matter who laughs.